Good morning and welcome to Rochester Schools, where it's always a great day to be a Rocket. I'm Dan Cox, Superintendent of Schools. Today is a special occasion as we gather here to celebrate a significant milestone in education, the expansion of pre-kindergarten at Rochester Schools and schools throughout Illinois due to the generous Smart Start grant. On behalf of the entire district, we want to extend a heartfelt welcome to our special guest, Governor J.B. Pritzker and Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. Governor Pritzker is a steadfast advocate for education. His unwavering commitment to the betterment of our schools across Illinois is truly commendable. We're grateful for his presence today as we continue our journey of ensuring quality early childhood education. I would also like to acknowledge Lieutenant Governor Stratton, whose dedication to the welfare of our children is truly inspiring. Alongside her, we're honored to have State Superintendent Tony Sanders, State Senator Doris Turner, and Representative Sue Scheer, whose leadership is instrumental in shaping policies that benefit our students. Special thanks also go to the members of the Rochester Board of Education for their commitment to our students. Today, we as state leaders and local educators unite to express our deepest gratitude to our teachers and administration. Your tireless work to mentor and educate our youngest learners is laying the foundation for our schools and our students to thrive. We owe you all a debt of gratitude for shaping the minds of our children. We can't emphasize enough the beneficial impact of early childhood education. Research consistently shows that quality early learning experiences lay the foundation for future success, both academically and socially. The Smart Start grant is an investment in our youngest learners and our collective future as a community and a state. Governor Pritzker's commitment to early childhood education aligns seamlessly with the values of Rochester Schools. It's our combined mission to ensure that every child, regardless of their background, has access to the transformative power of education from the very beginning. Together, with the Smart Start initiative, we're building a foundation for a brighter and more equitable future through the power of education. It's truly a great day to be a Rocket. It's now my distinct pleasure to welcome Governor Pritzker to the podium.
It's great to be here this morning. Thank you so much, Superintendent. There are an awful lot of people, dignitaries here to acknowledge. I won't repeat the list, but just in particular, I want to shout out to the members of the General Assembly who are here. Of course, Doris Turner, State Senator, State Representative Sue Scherer, State Representative Mike Coffey. We all try to work together to get things done for our schools, for our families, for children across the state of Illinois, and I'm really proud of the work that we're doing. I also want to shout out to the parents, of course, and educators who make this facility and our families more successful all the time, and we can't do it without them. And so thank you to all of you who are here and those who may be listening at home. We're here today to celebrate the truly great strides that we've made in Illinois since just last year even towards expanding early childhood education. My partners in the General Assembly and I have worked together to deliver a groundbreaking plan for our state called Smart Start Illinois. It began with a more than $250 million investment across birth to 5 programs, including $75 million for preschool expansion through the state's early childhood block grant program this year alone. If you see me smiling a little more than usual at this press conference, it's because this is a topic I truly love. It's maybe the most important investment that we can make in government, period, end of sentence. If you want to change the trajectory in a positive way of the population of a state, invest in the very youngest children and their families. Well, we immediately went to work with Smart Start Illinois with a first-year goal of expanding preschool spots available to 3- and 4-year-olds by 5,000 spots. Well, the results are in, and we blew away our first-year goal by creating 5,823 brand new preschool seats. That's 17% more than promised. And all of these programs were in preschool deserts where parents previously had long waiting lists or no publicly funded preschool choices available at all for their kids. 59 of the 95 programs are brand new ones in places where none existed before. Between the newly opening programs and existing providers, we have now over 82,000 publicly funded preschool seats across our state. That's more than ever before. In fact, over the next 4 years, we intend to entirely eliminate early childhood education deserts for 3- and 4-year-olds in Illinois. For our very youngest, Smart Start is expanding access to prevention initiative programming and evidence-based home visiting services for families with babies and toddlers, 0 to 3, by adding 26 programs across the state, and 17 of which are entirely new. We're also vastly upgrading quality childcare across the state because it's vital for both working parents who depend upon it and for their children. But for too long, childcare has been either unavailable, unaffordable, or both. Our old reimbursement system was just too unpredictable and made it difficult for childcare providers to invest in retaining and growing their staff, resulting in fewer placement options and parents being left to fend for themselves. So Smart Start created a first-in-the-nation $130 million childcare workforce grant program, providing a much-needed solution to stabilize and grow the childcare sector. It really sets a baseline for funding for our childcare centers so that even in difficult times like we went through over the last few years, they won't go out of business. They'll be able to stay in business and, of course, adjust as the population adjusts and they see more or fewer childcare spots and kids themselves. But that's not all. We also invested an additional $40 million into early intervention services, allowing thousands of children to overcome developmental challenges and families to maintain access to these critical services, all while giving providers a much-needed 10% rate increase. And Smart Start added $5 million in funding to reach many more at-risk families with home visits. You know, Illinois was one of the first states to start home visits in the nation. But for many years, we waned in funding that program. Other states took it up and really have run with it and done a great job. Finally, Illinois is once again taking the lead. This is a crucial program that promotes child social emotional development, reduces domestic violence, and it supports overall health. Best in the nation in all early childhood services. That is our mission for Illinois. It's why in October I proposed we consolidate the state's early childhood agencies so that we can simplify parents' access to these services, ease the burden on providers, and promote equity. And with Smart Start's extraordinary success in this first year alone, I have no doubt that we will be triumphant in that mission. At the end of the day, Smart Start is about our future, our collective future. It's about making sure that parents have the support that they need to raise a family and giving our children the resources that they need to succeed for many years to come. With that, I'd like to turn it over to a true champion for children and working parents and my partner in governance, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. Juliana?
Good morning, everyone. Well, what a great way to start our day today, visiting 2 early learning classrooms here at Rochester Elementary. And let me just start by saying we saw a lot of learning taking place, but we saw something more than that. We saw love, and the children were happy, they were smiling, and that is a great way to talk about Smart Start Illinois. Thank you, Governor Pritzker, for that warm introduction and for your leadership in making Illinois the best state in the nation to raise a family. And it's wonderful to be back here in Rochester, Superintendent Cox, Principal Van Fossen, Jennifer Shaw. I just want to echo the governor's thanks to all of the dedicated educators and leadership of Rochester Elementary School EC1. You do the hardest work to ensure that our children get the education they deserve. And thank you again to our partners in the General Assembly joining us for all the work you do on behalf of our communities. You know, our administration's guiding purpose is to uplift working families of Illinois, especially the communities who have been left out or left behind. And while there's more work to be done, I am so proud to be a part of a team that upholds its word. As policymakers, we know that investing in our children's starting years yields the greatest returns. When we educate our children, we set off a domino effect. Education leads to opportunity, which leads to prosperity, which leads to stability, and so on. And that's why Smart Start Illinois remains a priority in our fifth balanced budget. You see, good government puts the people at the forefront of policy. And maybe you've heard this saying, having kids is like wearing your heart outside of your body. And as the mother of 4 daughters, I certainly can feel the truth in that. As a working mother, I know what it's like to need support protecting and nurturing the 4 hearts that live outside my body. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the educators and early child care workers who helped me along the way. These professionals, who are predominantly women, and as we look throughout the state, predominantly people of color, deserve proper resources and support. Because every day when our children walk through their doors, we are trusting them to watch over our hearts. I'm excited for this update, that we are already surpassing our goals, because Smart Start is a promise to early child care professionals. We need you, we trust you, and we value you. Smart Start is a promise to our parents. We know how hard you're working, and we have your backs. And Smart Start is a promise to our children. You deserve a bright future, and we believe in you. Thank you again for welcoming us today, and I'm now pleased to welcome our next speaker, a dedicated leader and educator, State Superintendent Tony Sanders.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Stratton, and thank you. I want to start out by thanking Superintendent Dan Cox for his friendship over the last decade plus. Rochester School District is a shining example of why Illinois is such a great state to raise a family. I also want to give a special shout out to Adrienne Van Fossen, the principal here at Rochester Elementary School. Congratulations on your appointment this year, and you're doing great work here at this school. Especially, I want to thank Governor Pritzker and our Illinois General Assembly for having the wisdom to invest in early childhood education. Today, we are celebrating an enormous milestone on our journey to make Illinois the best place to raise a family. That goal starts with preschool, affordable, accessible, high-quality preschool for every family in Illinois. Thanks to the $75 million investment of state funding by Governor Pritzker and our General Assembly, and thanks to the hard work of our staff at the Illinois State Board of Education, nearly 6,000 more children across the state now have access to preschool. We exceeded our goal with this first round of funding to expand access to preschool to more children. And we're awarding grants to existing preschool providers to increase program quality and to increase the pay for our talented and dedicated early childhood educators. We are well on our way to completely eliminating preschool deserts and closing the gap in access to preschool across the state. As you all know, preschool is where children and families form their first relationships with their schools. Through guided play, children experience the joy of learning new skills. They develop perseverance and resiliency. They learn to cooperate, to problem solve, and yes, even to negotiate with one another. What children learn in these early years are essential for the foundation for them to excel in learning for the rest of their academic life. Every child deserves to have this strong foundation in their life. That's what we're celebrating here today. This is a victory for Illinois, for the nearly 6,000 Illinois children and families that are being served, and we're not yet done. We're going to keep going until we transform every preschool desert into places where all of our youngest learners have the opportunity to learn and to thrive. Thank you very much. It's now my honor to introduce Senator Turner.
Good morning. I want to thank Governor Pritzker for always prioritizing education throughout his administration, and especially his focus on early childhood education. Public education has and always will be in the forefront of my priorities. Long before I even dreamed of being an elected anything, I began my advocacy working very closely with District 186 in Springfield, and that relationship certainly continues today. I truly believe that education is the foundation on which community is built, and investing in early childhood education expands opportunities for our youth, setting them up to be lifelong learners, giving them the tools to be successful and providing a path to be future leaders, and also provides parents with the confidence and support they deserve as they raise their families. As a member of the Senate Education Committee, I will continue to do all that I can to ensure that Smart Start Illinois continues to exemplify our commitment to education across the state. And with it, we are one step closer, I believe, to ensuring that every child will receive a head start on a high-quality education in this state. And with that, I would invite my friend and partner in the General Assembly, Representative Souchier.
Thank you for being here, everyone. I know it's no secret to anybody that I was a public school teacher for 35 years, and I had a little bitty stint in preschool when I did some work at my church, more for the Sunday school program, but I've kind of concluded that's one of my loves, is the little bitty ones. I promised I would keep my remarks very short, so I just want to say this. In my job as the chair of one of the education committees in the House, every minute that I'm at work, I'm thinking, what can we do to make education better, to fix the problems that we have? And it's truthfully rare that I sit back and have a moment like right now where I can celebrate one of our victories instead of worrying about what we're going to do next, how we're going to make it better. So right now, I'm going to take this moment to celebrate. I'm going to say this 3 times because that's how important it is to me. I taught for all these years, all the time I was in college. All we ever heard about was we need to put more money in preschools. And I would get so frustrated because I would just think, why don't you quit talking about it and do something? So all my life, all I've heard is how important it is to put money in preschools instead of prisons. It will prevent people from going to prison. And all I ever thought was, why don't we ever do this? So all my life, all I ever thought was, why don't we put money into preschools when all the research is out there to back it up? And I finally had the honor of having this governor put his money where his mouth was, and finally we put money into preschools to the tune of $250 million. And so today, I'm not going to worry about education. Today, I'm going to celebrate a victory. Thank you. I was busy celebrating, I guess. Jennifer Shaw, please come. Thanks for being here.
As several people in the room can attest to, discussing the great things that are happening in preschool at Rochester is one of my very favorite topics. During the 2017-2018 school year, the Rochester School District had only one preschool classroom with one morning section and one afternoon section. Since then, we've added a preschool classroom every year. As of today, we have 6 preschool classrooms, which are a combination of half-day programs and full-day programs, and can serve 180 students from our community aged 3 to 5. The addition of the Smart Start grant has been enormously beneficial for Rochester's educational program. We can now offer preschool to at-risk students and those receiving special education services, in addition to tuition-based students. With the addition of the Smart Start grant, we'll have more opportunities for our students and for their families. A pivotal new role is our parent liaison. The parent liaison will bridge communication between parents, guardians, and school staff, provide community outreach by promoting the benefits of early childhood education, coordinate community events, and then also collaborate with local agencies to provide additional services for families in need. The community events will assist our stakeholders in building even stronger relationships as students enter school and go through school. increase excitement about learning, and provide learning through experiences to build students' background knowledge and establish connections between what they learn in the classroom and what they learn in the real world. By having more students enrolled in preschool, we build a strong foundation that will build future academic success, provide support for families, and ensure that each child receives an individualized support plan to maximize their growth. This early intervention provides long-term benefits to our youngest learners. Thank you to our parents for being strong partners and advocates for their preschool children, our preschool team that has walked side by side with us as we continue to expand our programs to meet the needs of all of our learners, and our administration and Board of Education that share my vision and passion for early childhood education. In addition, we wouldn't be here where we are today without the support of Governor Pritzker and Lieutenant Governor Stratton. Thank you for your commitment and support for our early learners across the state and specifically at Rochester schools. And at this time, I welcome Governor Pritzker back to the podium to answer questions.
Happy to take questions from members of the media. Alex.
Have you settled on a number yet for this upcoming budget year, what you want to put back into preschools for early childhood education?
We'll be releasing the budget, as you know, closer to the budget address, so you'll see those numbers. But look, it's a gradual effort to make sure that we're not only filling up our deserts for early childhood education, but to make sure that we're covering every single 3 to 4-year-old for preschool, and then each of the other lines. Home visitation, we're not done with that, and continuing to build up our early intervention services for the state, which have been woefully inadequate for too many years. So, you'll see those line items coming shortly. Yes. Jeremy, go ahead.
Governor, there's a news report in the Sun-Times today about talks about the possible move for the Chicago White Sox to move to the South Loop area, that area over there by Roosevelt and Clark. Obviously, state financing has played a crucial role at Guaranteed Field and Comiskey Park when it was built in the 90s. Would you support state funding for a project like this for a new baseball field for the White Sox if this were to come to fruition?
Well, nobody's made an ask yet, so having said that, I think you know my views about privately owned teams and whether the public should be paying for private facilities that'll be used by private businesses. Having said that, I mean, there are things that government does to support business all across the state, investing in infrastructure, making sure that we're supporting the success of business in Illinois. So, as with all of the other, whether it's sports teams or other private businesses, we'll be looking at whatever they may be suggesting or asking.
What would a move like that mean for Discovery Partners Institute?
Say again.
Discovery Partners Institute is
Yeah.
also on that land over there by
Yeah.
the 78 and
Yeah.
Roosevelt Park. So if the White Sox were to move to build a stadium over there, what would that mean for Discovery Partners Institute?
Don't know. Haven't evaluated. It's been a day. Have not talked to the folks at Discovery Partners Institute, but there's no doubt that we are going to have Discovery Partners Institute. It's just a question of, the decisions about the 78.
Governor, with the pressures on the budget, everything from pensions to the migrant concerns, can you address the idea of whether or not something like Smart Start is sustainable into the future? Because I imagine it's not just a one-year cost, right? I mean, this is a program to help support these child care deserts and getting child care seats. So how do you ensure that that is going to be, sustainable in the long term?
Well, let me be clear. We've been balancing the budget every single year I've been in office. We're going to continue to balance the budget. This is a high priority. Every time anyone asks me about whether something should be funded and whether we should continue to fund something, it's all a question of priorities. I think the members of the General Assembly and I talk about this all the time, across the aisle too, about what are our priorities, where are we going to put resources, and if we don't have enough resources for everything that everybody wants, what can we look to do in the future, or what should we stop doing in order to make sure we're balancing expenditures with revenues? Yes, Mike.
Governor, 6,000 seats just this year, right around that mark. That was obviously surpassing the original goal. Will that be the new goal as we move forward for each new year?
Again, it's a question of how much funding will we put to it, how do people prioritize. To be clear, we still have some distance to go to make sure that we're covering every single 3- and 4-year-old in this state by 2027. That is the goal. And so we're going to put shoulder to the wheel, and again, it's a question of budgetary priorities. I certainly am encouraging, I'm not going to turn around and talk to the members that are here because they do support early childhood education, but I will say to the broader General Assembly, this ought to be a priority for our state. Yeah, Dave.
Governor, thanks very much for the opportunity. I'm getting the idea that there are going to be more slots for kids to attend preschool, but the programming itself, is there something new, different, innovative, a new way of having the preschool experience?
The great news is that for many years, there have been model programs developed across the state, across the country. Actually, Illinois has been a leader in developing those programs with organizations like the Erickson Institute, with organizations like Start Early and so on. But we also look outside the state. Those are two that are in our state. So it's not so much about the innovation that we're bringing into the classroom, because the innovations have really been developed. It's a question of whether we're going to proliferate those innovations to every child in the state or every parent who wants their child to go to preschool. I believe preschool is hugely important for our economic future, something people often don't think about, for the educational futures of each one of these kids. Sue Scherer talked about the preventing kids from ending up going to prison. That's one result. Another is just income levels and success in life, health. Honestly, people do better when they've gone to preschool in terms of their overall health for the course of their life. That's why the investment in preschool and overall early childhood education is such a great return on investment.
Governor,
Yes, sir.
So, the city of Chicago obviously sees a few of the buses with migrants coming in, so they started dropping off in the suburbs. Do you think the state needs legislation to essentially give them the power to do the same thing?
That's something that the legislature is looking at now and considering. It certainly seems like if one town can do it and another town can't, that we ought to have some uniformity. So that I know is being discussed in committees. Yes.
I know we mentioned that we surpassed the goal of 5,000 preschool spots to 1,500 plus. Now, does that change knowing that we have so many migrant students coming in? Is it really a win? And if not, how many more spots do we need to accomplish?
Well, it's certainly a win that we're covering more students than we had thought we might be able to this year with the dollars that have already been allocated. So that's an overall win. Having more kids going to our public schools, I think you've seen that with the population shift, and we're not talking about, some people want to talk about outmigration or something else. That's not it. All across the country, just because of the age demographics of people in this country, people are aging, there are fewer babies that are being born and so on. Schools have fewer kids ultimately coming in at the very youngest ages. So it's a terrific thing when we have in-migration and we have an opportunity to educate those very young kids, especially when we aren't fully educating all the kids that are already here. We're going to have to keep putting shoulder to the wheel to make sure we're addressing that.
One more. Governor,
Yes,
there's been,
Patrick.
with the state board election, several objections to presidential candidates, President Trump, President Biden. You were in Iowa earlier this week supporting President Biden. Do you have a response or a view on the objections? They still go before the general counsel.
There obviously objections have been filed here. They've been filed in other states. I think it's something the Supreme Court will address, should address. We need to know what the rules ought to be going forward, and so I think we're all going to abide by whatever it is they decide.
Governor, just a quick question about
I'm going to take Mike. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
the Freedom Caucus yesterday held a press conference trying to bring about solutions for the migrant crisis. The only thing they said is get rid of the sanctuary status for Illinois and Chicago. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but what's your response to that?
Well, I don't want to give a tutorial on the difference between undocumented immigrants and those who are asylum seekers. Asylum seekers are legally in this country. Undocumented immigrants not. They're undocumented. Asylum seekers are documented. So we address them differently, people who are here legally than people who are not. The discussion about, being a welcoming state or a sanctuary state, all of that discussion has always been about what are we going to do about the undocumented people who've been here for decades. They've been holding down jobs. They have apartments or places to live. They are essentially acting as all of the other residents of Illinois are acting in full faith, following the law and so on. And the question about the challenges that are brought up in a press conference like that have zero to do with the current migration crisis that's occurring, which is being fueled by the governor of Texas. People are showing up in Texas. It is a challenge for Texas. There's no doubt about it, and for the nation. And it ought to be addressed on a national basis, not on a piecemeal basis. And the governor of Texas causing problems state by state to the states that he chooses to send people to and concentrate them, that ought not be the way that we address this as a country.
Can you address the question?
Thank you.